Go ahead. Oh, we're
Hello,
live?
friend. Almost. They almost got you. Hello,
Okay.
friends from Five Reasons. We are back. I'm Alejandro Villegas with Ethan Skolnick today. 5 minutes in a pandemic. How we're
That's
gonna
it.
call this.
5 minute max. Five
And
reasons, 5 minutes.
yeah, today we're gonna be talking about the NBA. I know a lot of fans are thirsty for information during this hard times right now. And I know sports are not the main issue for everybody, but some people are still wondering, hey, when will we be having sports sometime? So, what's your estimate on the NBA, Ethan?
Well, the problem is nobody has an estimate on the NBA because Adam Silver was, nobody has an estimate on anything right now. And this situation is going to get a lot worse before it gets anything close to better. But Adam Silver was on with Rachel Nichols on ESPN today and went through a few things. I thought some of it was new, and I actually just did a podcast with USA Today's national NBA writer, Jeff Zilgett, which will post overnight, which gets into this in more detail. But essentially, Silver said they're really looking at three different options. One option is to come back with fans. I don't think that's realistic. And I don't think he thinks it's realistic. You're not going to be able to bring fans back into this because as soon as one player tests positive again, everybody's going to have to leave. So it's just not going to work out. The second option is to come back without fans, and then that depends. Do you bring back some regular season games when you don't really have a lot of issues with seating, or you just want to get the players back in shape by playing some games, but do you really need to bring the Charlotte Hornets and Chicago Bulls back for meaningless games? So that becomes a weird thing. And then the third thing he suggested, this one I hadn't heard, is that because the NBA wants to take the lead in providing entertainment and maybe, some charity here, that they may have some kind of an event, where you get some of the better players in the league to basically put on a pay-per-view show with all the proceeds going to charity. Something like what we saw, although the NBA didn't put it on, but I don't know if you were there. You weren't here at this point, but I went to the game at FIU, which
Okay.
Isaiah Thomas was the coach at the time, so he sponsored it. This was during the 2011 lockout. And LeBron and Dwayne and Kevin Durant and all these other players were there. And I guess you could do something like that again, but I don't think that precludes them from having a season. But I guess the point is Adam Silver kept saying whether he was asked about, and he was very open, but again, he doesn't know much because nobody does. And he was asked about awards and everything else, and he's like, well, we'll see. He's like, I'm not really there yet as far as awards or whether they'll award a champion or have a champion. He says, but, maybe I'm just in denial. I think everybody's in denial. I don't think there's going to be an NBA season, Alejandro.
Could we have a shorter playoff? Let's say a 5-game series or
Yes.
3-game series at least to have at least something once we're able to.
Yeah, Alejandro, I think that's a given no matter what. If they come back and even play a few regular season games, the teams are between 64 and 67 games each right now. It's a representative season. The lockout season, it's not like you played 30 games. The lockout season was 66 games. So they're right in that space. So do you really need to play more regular season games? And then I think you're going to want to rush things in the playoffs because you're not going to want to press up against the next season. So I do think that at least the first couple rounds would be 3 out of 5. Would the conference finals be 3 out of 5? Maybe they would say no at first, but it might end up. The finals, they would keep 4 out of 7. But again, if you're going to start with the playoffs and then you're asking two teams that haven't played in 4 months to play a 3 out of 5 series, you're going to get a weird result. Like, I just think we have to accept the fact that we're going to get weird results. And I think if you look at the shame of this from just again, this is minor compared to everything else. I keep saying that. But if you look just from a basketball perspective, Milwaukee Bucks have had kind of a historic season for them. And that may affect Giannis 2 years down the road. That might be good for Miami. It feels to me, and I know you're a baseball guy, this feels to me a little bit like the Montreal Expos, what was it, in 1995? Is that right? For 94, right, where they had one of the most loaded teams of all time. And all those players ended up going somewhere else and winning. But they didn't win in Montreal because there was never a final to that, an end to that, whether it was Alou or any of the other guys on that team. There was never a finality to that season. That may happen to the Bucks. Laker fans are complaining. You have enough titles. Milwaukee doesn't. And then there's other stuff. The MVP race, I don't think it was really in doubt, but people were trying to say it was between Giannis and LeBron. I always thought it was Giannis. But, Zion maybe making a late rush for Rookie of the Year. Maybe the Pelicans making a late push against the playoffs. Maybe Vince Carter playing another NBA game and being able to walk off the floor the way he wanted to walk off the floor. Maybe Udonis Haslem walking off the floor the way he wanted to walk off the floor. These are all things that are going to, we're just going to have to look back in history and say it just didn't work out, I think. I can't see, I don't think this country has any handle on what's going to happen right now. And it's going to get so much worse that,
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows, and I think well now we're seeing more and more positive results, especially on players too, which is the negative side of this. So we don't know how many players are going to be having this virus, or how much time it's going to take for them to be totally recovered, so that they're not spreading the virus even more among players. Now, I think these personal stories are fine, Haslam or Carter or whatever, but I think they should end the season like it is. Play some sort of a preseason couple of weeks, and get back to the playoffs to give the fans something, and a nice playoffs, not just the weird results that you were talking about.
Well, I agree with you. I don't know you should do preseason. Here was my suggestion: have a 2-week training camp. If you're concerned about the players not coming, have a 2-week training camp and allow players to bring their G League players in back to camp. Because if you do that, you'll have competitive camps. You'll get the guys back in shape at least. And also, the G League season had to end early too. So at least you bring your guys back into the system. So let the Heat bring its Sioux Falls roster back to Miami. You'll have 25 players here or whatever. Let them compete in a training camp for a week to 10 days, and then play some playoff games. It's never going to be perfect. People aren't going to be happy with the results. But I do think, when you hit rock bottom, and our society is about to hit rock bottom, things that you used to complain about, you're just happy to have, right?
Yes.
So, yes. I'll be happy if the stock market's not down 20,000 points tomorrow, if it's just down 10,000. That's kind of where we are as a society. So I think Adam Silver has proven himself to be one of the best leaders, not only in sports, but also in this country, the way he's handled this situation. And so I trust him to do the right thing. I don't necessarily trust some of the other commissioners. I don't know what the hell Rob Manfred's doing. That's a whole nother story. You can address that on another platform here. But
yeah.
but Gary Bettman just does whatever it is the NBA does. But Silver, I think, is on top of it. I think look, there's money involved here. Clearly, we can't look past that. 25% of the NBA's revenues are made during the playoffs. Plus, you miss a chunk of the season. But I also think Silver is a genuinely good human being who wants to do the right thing. And so I do think he wants to bring entertainment back, but you've got to be careful. Before we go, Alejandro, we have to mention, because I made an issue of this before, the Miami Heat stepped up today. It may have come a couple days later than some other teams, but the Arisons, Mickey and his wife, came forward with $1 million donation to the Arison Foundation to be used during the pandemic, so for workers and such. So they did step up, and I think we should give them credit for that.
All right. Just before you go, they're asking here for Udonis Haslem's future. You think he's going to retire if the season ends like this?
I don't know. I mean, I think UD was hinting at staying a little longer. I think, I love UD in so many ways, but I think the Heat showed this year that you need the roster spot.
Yeah.
With the injuries that they had, and when they had the Waiters and JJ situations, that you need the spot. And so I'd love to see him. He's going to stay with the organization and be a coach, but it's not like he wanted a farewell tour anyway, and it's not like he was playing. So I don't think this affects him that much. But I would be surprised if he plays again next season after this.
All right, thank you, Ethan. Remember, tonight we're having tomorrow morning, Ethan's going to be posting the next episode of 5 on the Floor, and we're going to be doing this type of things, live streaming.
We have nothing else to do.
I like that title, though, 5 minutes in a pandemic, because that's what we're trying to do here. We have. Right. I want to talk about baseball, what MLB is doing. I think.
Let's do that in another episode.
Yeah, we should do that, and we'll see whatever's going on. We have the NFL free agency is just going like anything else is happening.
Yeah, we're gonna bring on probably Josh Houts tomorrow. We couldn't do it tonight, but I think we'll bring on Josh Houts to go over everything the Dolphins have done and check out the other episode that's in there. But yeah, we're gonna have a lot more YouTube content. In general, I think that's the place for us to go right now. It's easy for people.
Yeah.
And I also want to spotlight some of the contributors in our network that you may not know, and also others in the community who just want to get their voices heard. We can do that in a way that I don't think the other outlets are really positioned to do. So we're going to try to provide, again, it's beneficial to us to obviously keep ourselves going, but also provide some entertainment or analysis during this period.
That's right. All right, Ethan, have a good night, and we'll be talking soon. All right,
sounds good. Until they shut off my phone. Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.